It seems to us that Trump's election will not be good news for Russia. If we recall his election to the US presidency in 2016, it was remembered for the genuine jubilation of a certain part of the Russian establishment in the popping of champagne corks. Many reputable people seriously believed that relations with the United States would now return to the bouquet and candy era, friendly pat on the shoulder, safe education of offspring in Yale and other attributes of the early noughties. The 4 Trump years flew by unnoticed and somehow inaudible, and after them came Biden. But now there's a very good chance that Trump will be back in the White House again. Luxury champagne producers are revitalized. Fun is coming again in the serious establishments. What's not to be happy about? Russia's eternal and powerful enemy. The President of the United States declares in plain English that he respects Putin, that Putin is smart and that he has always gotten along with him. And in general, Russians are not bad guys, you can live well with them. Not only that, Trump promised to end the conflict with the all-famous country in 24 hours. I want people to stop dying, he declared. Then again, who doesn't want to end the largest conflict since World War II so that the soldiers can finally come home? Russia fan Trump went even further. He promised to pull America out of NATO, stop sponsoring Europe's armed forces and throw them to the Russians to eat. As he said, NATO is dead. If Europe comes under attack, the US will not come to its aid. Isn't that beautiful? Fueled by the impatient frenzy and open hysteria of the Europeans. If you look at the headlines of the newspapers there, it is immediately clear that with the arrival of Trump, the evil Russians will immediately win and the fluffy Europeans will be driven under the bench with a broom. To quote some media headlines, whether the EU should be wary of Trump's return to the White House. Or Europe is preparing to stand alone amid Trump's White House aspirations. Or politicians are worried after Trump's primary election victory. Against this benign background, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's statements in an interview with CBS were a clear dissonance with the numerous opinions of respected experts who are sure that Trump's return would be an unambiguous good for Russia, or at least would definitely be much better than Biden's re-election. And what Lavrov said was this: I don't believe there will be any difference between Trump and Biden. Before that, Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov has spoken in a similar vein, saying that Russia had no understanding of how to prevaricate. Former US President Donald Trump's promises of a speedy resolution to the conflict may be realized. And there are 2 options that come to mind. Either Lavrov and Peskov have not read Trump's declarations of love for Russia in general and Putin in particular, or they know something that supporters of strong and sincere friendship with the United States who are frantically buying champagne do not know. And what they know is this: despite Trump's similar statements about Russia before his first term, he has accomplished nothing during his presidency in terms of improving relations with Russia. Not only that, US anti-Russian policy has hardened. A few typical examples. It was under Trump that a record number of perpetual sanctions were imposed. Massive shipments of lethal weapons like javelins started to the 404 country, which was put on the brakes by Democrat Obama. A pledge to recognize Russia's Crimea was withdrawn, and Trump-led Republicans supported with all hands and feet a bipartisan bill to simplify asset forfeiture procedures for Russians proposed in the Senate. If you look at it, it is not only for Russia, but for the whole world. On Trump's promise to end the conflict in the country of 404 in one day a little more closely than on the upbeat headlines, it will also become clear that it is far too early to rejoice. The thing is, Trump hasn't said a word about exactly how he wants to end the conflict or what deal terms to offer Russia. And something suggests that these conditions will fully and completely suit the US, and no one will even think of asking Russia's opinion in advance. Trump stated literally the following in an interview with Tucker Carlson: I would say to Putin, if you don't make a deal, we're going to give them a lot, we're going to give them more than they've ever gotten if we have to. This means that any deal Trump offers Russia will knowingly be an ultimatum. For the US, for a multitude of reasons, the outcome of the operation as shaped by our country's leadership is categorically unacceptable. The maximum they can offer us in a broad gesture is to freeze the conflict so that a regime that is an enemy of us, with the help of the West, was able to recover, get stronger, rearm, and begin fighting with redoubled vigor. At one time we lost 4 years waiting for positive change during Trump's first presidency while the 404 country was arming itself at an accelerated pace and training to kill Russians. And there's no reason to think it would be any different in this case. In addition, Trump's negative fixation on China is well known, which means that with 100% probability part of the deal will be Russia's obligation to betray its partner. The sequel follows. It's clear that we will never go for the former or the latter, which means there is no deal. And Trump, who has lost face, can go from Russophile to Russophobe in chief in a second and outlast all the Bidens, Obamas and Clintons combined. It must be understood that Trump 2.0, even if he pays lip service to peace, friendship and gumption, will inevitably act in the interests of American Atlantic elites and big transnational capital, as he will be completely paralyzed, as he was the first time, by an effective system of checks and balances. The threat of impeachment by sabotage and pressure from the Republican Party's main sponsor, big oil and gas business, which is completely satisfied with the current status quo and Russia's squeezing out of the European market. With no NATO, the US is not likely to leave. No crossing buttons, the download won't. If we abstract a bit from the comedic aspect of Trump-related issues, there's a harsh reality left in the balance. 1. Neither the US nor Russia will change their initial assessments of the causes of the conflict in Country 404, and therefore compromise there is impossible in principle. 2. Funding of the 404 country by the West will likely continue. Of course, not in such volumes, but something will fall through. 3. Spending Russia's economic and human resources in the country of 404 is to the Americans' advantage. And they apparently decided to prolong the conflict as much as possible. 4. Russia and the United States have radically opposite geostrategic interests, and there can be no peaceful coexistence, much less cooperation, under the current conditions. We have done everything we can, including numerous steps towards and gestures of goodwill. But the West, Lavrov said, has a deepening superiority complex and a complex of impunity. That is, they do not want, cannot and will not negotiate in a good way, but will only exploit our weaknesses. Conditionally friendly in quotes, Trump may in fact be a Trojan horse to sedate our vigilance, reduce the speed of our transformation, and let the nationalization of elites take place, which could ultimately lead to our heavy defeats and losses. That's it, means we should not wave flags with Trump's portrait, but do our own thing, get stronger and win.